What's up, Trainiacs? Welcome to video number 3 of the 4-part triathlon bike fitting series discussing the 3 touch points involved in fitting on any bike, those being the pedals, the saddle, and the bars. Today, we are talking about how to set up your front end. That's the AERO bars for maximum aerodynamics and comfort. What's up, triathletes? So in this third video of the 4-part triathlon bike fitting series, we're talking about how to set up your front end. Now, disclaimer, as I've given in all videos, I am not a certified bike fitter. These videos are just to get you in the ballpark of dialing in a setup that might be comfortable for you. Now, don't forget, go to triathlontaren.com/bike fit for free downloads that'll help you dial this in on your own with the use of just a mirror and an iPhone and some of the pictures that we'll supply to help you do this on your own. If you do want to get completely dialed in, get your ideal setup, or if you have significant pain, definitely go and see a certified bike fitter locally that can help you out. And that goes especially for fitting the front end of your bike. Triathlon bikes over the last 10 years have gone through significant changes as far as customization goes. And a lot of that has to do with the front end of the bike. You can move your cleats around a little bit to change your pedal position. You can move your saddle a little bit, forward, backward, up and down. But a lot of the customization has happened in the front end of the bike. That's making the pads wider, making the pads narrower, going lower, end up bringing your hands up to your face. All different types of positions are now able to be customized to the unique aspects and requirements for every single triathlete. What we're going to talk about is just kind of general guidelines to get you close to what will work for you. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need a full-length mirror set up to the side of you while you're on a trainer. Not rollers, you need to be fairly stable in this. And the amount that you can get lower on the bike is determined by your hip flexibility. Historically, a lot of people thought that the lower they got, the better it would be for them. However, people like Jan Frodeno have proven that they could actually bring their position up and actually put out more power and be more aerodynamic. And the reason for that is that if you're in a more upright and that position is a more comfortable position for you, you're going to be able to put more power into the pedals, and because it's more comfortable, you're going to be able to stay in that position for longer. You're going to jostle around a lot less, so you're going to be more aerodynamic, and then you're also going to run better. So a lot of people who are saying, you know, just slam it as low as you can while still being comfortable, that's not quite right. What we're looking for is this. Get that mirror off to the side. You want to see basically a straight line from your hip bone to your shoulder. What I don't want is for your hip line to go up and then come down drastically. And you can see that I've got a little bit of a curve in my back. Just about everyone's going to. So what you're looking at is there basically an equal amount of your upper body above and below that line? If there's a huge amount above that line, you're probably angled down too much and your hips aren't flexible enough to get into that position. So consider that basically your half Ironman, your go-to bike position. What if you're doing a sprint or an Olympic? Well, because that race is a little bit shorter, you can probably be somewhere around 10%, 10 degrees more aggressive as long as you adapt to it. Don't do this in the week leading up to the race. When it comes to an Ironman, the opposite is true. Because that race is so much longer, you want to be a little bit more upright. And this is right in line with what I talked about with Jan Frodeno. In a race of that length, of the Ironman length, it's so much more critical to be able to stay in that aero position for the entire duration of the bike ride and be able to run easily after the bike ride than it is to be as slammed and as aero as possible. So comfort is paramount when you're doing an Ironman distance race. So if you've got a super bike, it's going to be really easy to dial in that elbow pad position with some stacks underneath the elbow pads. But if you don't have a super bike that is highly customizable under the pads, what you can do is buy a stem that, to bring you up a little bit more, it angles up. Or if you need to be a little bit more aggressive, angles down. When it comes to the length of that stem and positioning your elbows in and out, what you're not looking for is a perfect 90-degree vertical position. What you're actually looking for is basically 90 degrees from your body, and that's the position that you're looking for. So if your body is a little bit more upright, your elbows are going to be a little bit more upright. If you're stretched out too much, you need a shorter stem. If you're tucked in too much, you need a longer stem. Something that I've been experimenting with lately that I really like is these elbow pads and the bar extensions from 51 Speed Shop that give you a lot more room to move your elbows around, and those 51 Speed Shop bars, they actually bring your hands up closer to your face, and it's a more aerodynamic position. And what that does is it ends up kind of closing that scoop that is made by your body with your hands being nice and low. So you see that frontal chest area right there. If your hands are a little bit higher, your hands are going to break the wind and close up that gap. Now, the next thing that I want you to look at is with elbow position as far as the pads with the width. Now, if you have any sort of shoulder, neck, back pain, you might be pinched a little bit too far in. So you've got to figure out the position that gets you as tight as possible so that you have as small a frontal plane as possible without putting any stress on your shoulders. So how you end up figuring this out is by starting with the elbow pads as wide as possible. And you ride for a little while with them way out here. And you see how that feels. And when I say a little while, we're talking 5-10 minutes. And then you go one notch in, because all the elbow pads are going to have notches. And you see if that causes any sort of pinching riding for about 10 minutes or so. And you get to a point where you're going to notice just a slight little bit of pinch, and then what you do is you back off one notch from there. But ideally, we want to get that frontal plane as absolutely narrow as possible while still being fairly comfortable. So what we do is you adjust to that position that is a little bit wider, ride like that for maybe a month, 2 months thereabouts, and then you gradually bring it in at a time where you don't have a race for a couple of months. So you bring it in and then you go through that little bit of pinching, that little bit of an adjustment period, working on your shoulder flexibility as you're doing it, and you, over the course of about 2 months, you adjust to that new position. So that then is going to relate to the fourth and final video in this series. As I mentioned before, go to triathlontaren.com/bike fit to make sure that you download the free resource that we've got that accompanies all of this, that allows you to do this on your own, on a trainer, with a phone, and a mirror. And that's all you need. So if you didn't see the last video where I talked about setting up your shoes and your cleat position, that video is here. The full playlist is over here. And finally, if you aren't yet subscribed, hit the subscribe button below. And if you are subscribed, treat yourself to a nap this afternoon. You've earned it.